All right, everybody, we're back with another episode of the Summit Podcast. Today, I'm welcoming Nick Sammons here. And Nick is a owner of TruVine Renovations in Tennessee. Nick has been a coaching client of mine for the last couple of years, and I've missed seeing him because he kind of flew the coop, and he's been doing his thing. So I'm excited to have him on. We truly haven't caught up for a while, so this is going to be an exciting conversation. I can't wait to ask you about the Spartan races and that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
Nick, welcome to the Summit Podcast, man.
Thanks, Bob. I'm glad to be here, man. I missed you too, and it's good to be able to talk with you and catch up on what's been going on.
Yeah. I mean, for those that don't know, take a minute, tell people who you are, what you do, and how you got where you're at today.
Yeah. So simply, my name is Nick. I own TruVine Renovations. We build kitchens, bathrooms, and home additions. And what I tell people we specialize in is a peaceful renovation experience. And for those other contractors out there, contracting can be anything but. So my team knows that construction's chaotic, but the big thing that we promise is that we take that chaos on ourselves. We'll have the sleepless nights, and the clients can trust that everything is going on real well. So we've been in business now for 5 years. Personally, I'm married, have a 5-year-old son. My wife and I have been married for 8 years now, which sounds crazy to me. And I love personal development. I love working on hard things. And yeah, that's where I'm at.
Cool, man. I would say you love business development too, because I know how hard you've worked at the personal development, but also the business stuff. And we both kind of came from the same coaching group together back at the days of the contractor fight, where you became known as the numbers guy, right? Nick Numbers, Sammons, right? All you had to hear once from somebody, and I'm not even sure you had to hear it, was, hey, know your numbers, track your numbers, do your job costing. And anybody that I've come across that's been struggling in the past, I'm like, hey, chat with Nick. Ask Nick how he's done it. So first of all, thanks for pouring into the community all the time. And
Absolutely.
any community that you're in, you kind of come from the same place that a lot of us do, which is a place of service. And I guess my first question is, how has that attention to detail over time served you well?
Yeah, it's funny because the first thing I think of is how maybe it hasn't served me well, because it can sometimes slow me down and cause me to overthink or overanalyze.
Mm,
But where it has served me well is just a hyper focus on the details. And
yeah.
in business, details are important. Sometimes people want to fly by the seat of their pants, but the whole peaceful renovation experience comes from wanting to have a more peaceful business experience. Because when I was just a contractor, I was great at building things. I had no idea what business was about, what profit was, how to charge for a project, how to know what was coming in versus what was going out. So being able to learn those skills and hyper focus on the details, the numbers, to me now it's all just a big game. If I turn one of these dials over here, if I turn up my lead output and my closing rate stays the same, I know exactly how much money I can bring into the business and how I can grow and scale this thing. So it takes a lot of the guesswork
Mm.
out of things, gives me a little bit of peace of mind. I'm never wondering, hey, am I going to have enough money to operate next month? I know exactly down to the dollar where that needs to be. And then personally, in my personal life, just being able to track everything and write everything down and see the progress, knowing that you're following a plan is probably where it's helped me the most.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic stuff. You mentioned in the beginning you weren't sure it was always served you, right? Are there some times where it kind of went too far, like paralysis by analysis?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times when I'm thinking about what I want to do next in the business, or if I need to make a decision on who we're going to hire or something like that, I can over analyze. So I'm
Mm,
taking in
yeah,
all the information, uh, and it's almost too much. Sometimes your gut knows better than you do, and you just need to go ahead and make the decision. And sometimes you need to make the decision and be okay with the fact that it may not be the right decision, and you learn something in that process. So, I know we've talked about disc a lot, and I'm a high C, high D, and so I've got those two halves of me kind of constantly at war with each other, and sometimes the wrong side wins, and then the other side learns.
you got one on each shoulder, right? Chirping in your ear all the time. That's true, and I mean, it's you're a young guy, and I can't imagine like me being at that age, being able to have access to what you've had access to, not just like with mentors, but just coaching in general and information. And you're a student of the game.
Hmm.
And so what have you been doing lately? I haven't chatted with you in a while. What have you been doing lately? What's going on with the business? Everything. Talk to me.
Yeah, so I was a part of War Room in the contractor fight
Hmm.
until September this year, and in September I decided to not renew with War Room and to
Hmm.
actually step away from the contractor fight completely.
Yeah.
And so I think there is a point where you're overcoached
Yeah.
and underactioned,
Yes.
if
Got to
that's a
go
word.
implement.
So
Hey, I'll be back. I got to go put this stuff to use, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of at the same spot in my business for the past 3 years. We've done anywhere between 1.2 and 1.4 million. We're going to end up at about 1.4 million this year. And I know all the right things, but there's some missing element that isn't getting us over that hump. And so just trying to figure out where that is. And you're the one actually who told me to think about the opportunity cost with things. Instead
Right.
of spending $15,000 or $20,000 a year on some advanced coaching program. What if you take that $20,000 and you put it towards marketing, or you take that $20,000 and you put it into your own pocket or something like that?
Yeah.
And so just checking the opportunity cost of what those things were, the value that I was getting out of those things. Uh, Not to say that they lost value, but we wanted to try new avenues. And we did that this year and we learned.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know that you had a very interesting business model, which was that there were several of you doing sales at one time. It was you and another couple other guys, and maybe even three. So you had like a sales slash project manager role. And so they would kind of eat what they kill, so to speak. Like if they sold something, they project managed it, they saw it all the way through. Now on paper, it seemed pretty cool. It seemed to make a ton of sense. Have you pivoted away from that?
Yeah, we actually pivoted away from that at the beginning, really towards the end of last year.
Hmm.
And that was a good model when overhead was really low. We still didn't have a lot of things like professional website. We didn't have a lot of the tools and efficiencies that we do now that cost overhead, such as vehicles and workers comp insurance and all these other.
Right.
We were just barely learning how to play the game. And now that we're in the game, we're playing the game, the overhead cost is a lot higher. We're providing a ton more value on our jobs, but what was happening is it would just create a tremendous strain on cash flow because we would have these commissions that were
Mm.
$15 coming out at one time.
Yeah.
And then you got into the part where when those commissions are coming out, well, now sales need to be a lot more consistent. And that just wasn't happening. So we had to make a pivot. I ended up letting go two of those guys, and we converted my remaining project manager to just a project manager. And that was probably the strongest change we made this year. It allowed us to do a lot more work without having the need to be so profitable that we were kind of pricing ourselves out of certain projects. We're doing this year. We're doing more work at a little lower profit margin, but it was easily overcome by the change in structure. So instead of paying commissions, I could easily count on a salary coming out every 2 weeks, where I wasn't too worried about $20,000 coming out at one time.
Yeah, kind of flattened out the peaks and valleys in the cash flow, right? And I
Hmm.
know that from working with you, that probably one of the biggest struggles with somebody trying to grow one of these general contracting, remodeling, renovation business is cash flow, right? It's like if you could just
It's the
pull the
overhead
line.
trap.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's like, hey, things are good. I guess I'll add a guy. Yeah, I got to buy a truck. I'll get this. I'll do that. Things are good. I have no reason to believe the things aren't going to be great next month, right?
Right.
And then boom, I haven't had a lead in 6 weeks. Haven't closed a job in 8 weeks. Holy crap! What's
Hmm.
going on? So, how's your backlog look? I mean, this is the time of year things kind of check up a little bit, slow down. How are things?
We're slow. We've got some promising things in the pipeline. The thing with cutting off so much payroll is that our capacity has exploded.
Mm,
So instead of, one guy each trying to manage one crew, on their job that they care about more than anybody else's job because they're getting commission on it.
right.
Now we've got one project manager on every job, The subs are much better scheduled, and our capacity is much higher than when we had those 3 sales slash project manager guys. So even though right now we're a little slower, it doesn't really hurt as much. And we've got, I don't ever like to count my chickens till they hatch, but we've got 2 projects in design. One of them is we're just waiting for contract on it after the holidays that we're supposed to sign a contract for a $500,000 mother-in-law suite. So that'll be the largest project to date. It'll be a really great project for us. Again, not counting my chickens till they hatch. But we've got a $5,000 design going to convert an upstairs bonus room and bedroom to a mother-in-law suite. So converting the bedroom to a master bath and the bonus to a bedroom.
Yeah.
And so we've got some really promising things in the pipeline to start off the year, which, that could be $650,000 to start 2026.
Yeah.
It is setting up to be the best year yet, but I'm going to keep acting like it's the worst.
There you go. That sounds like a guy that's been in business a few years, maybe got kicked in the shins a few times.
Yeah. I tell you what, one of the hardest things to do is to live year after year wondering if you're going to have enough money to survive. We're placing even more emphasis on profitability, retained earnings.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of CPAs and other people out there will be like, oh, you need to spend it so you don't get tax on it. Look, I'd rather spend $20,000 in taxes and keep 80 than spend 60 on a truck and have 40 and then get hit with a bad month,
Yeah.
So peace of mind goes all the way around.
Is this the same guy that paid his truck off there a couple of years ago and I said, don't do that?
Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I should have listened to
you. We've had some spirited discussions, haven't we, buddy?
Yeah, but without a doubt.
It's been fun. You grew as a business owner. I grew as a coach, and I thank you for your trust in me to work with you while we were both doing that. It was cool. I think we both did a lot of good things in that time frame. So
yeah,
it was
absolutely.
cool. So it's awesome. Cam's doing well, right?
Very well. Yeah.
Good. Tell him I said hello. I see you out there doing these races and running a little bit and doing a Spartan race. Tell me about that. How did that start?
Yeah, so last year I really got my fitness in order, lost 30-ish pounds, did over 100 days straight at the beginning of the year, ended the year with 75 hard.
Nice.
Worked with Stacy for a few months in there. Mm-hmm. And, at the beginning of this year, kind of took a little bit of a break, and I was kind of wondering what the next big thing was. Is it going to be just maintaining? Are we going to go for another big workout push where we're trying to lose some weight? And I go, well, what do I hate more than anything in the world? And the answer was running.
Running. Never see a smiling runner, do you?
No, they're always grimacing. Yeah, at least the honest ones are.
Right.
So. But, I've always told myself I'm not a runner. I'm a sprinter. I was a running back playing in football in high school. And when we would do like the 2 mile summer run, I would always end up with the lineman.
Yeah.
Walking, sucking air, avoid it like the plague at the gym, maybe go half a mile on a treadmill. But nothing about running appealed to me. And I said I was going to do that, and I actually didn't do it until I met a buddy of mine, Sean, out here, and he was like, "Hey, let's run." And I go, "Okay, I'll run with you. That'll make a little bit more accountability." And he said, "Oh, by the way, we're going to do an ultra marathon." And I said, "A what?" He said, "An ultra marathon." And he goes, "What's that?" And he's like, "We're going to do the Blood Rock 100." And I'm like, I don't even know what any of this is. But immediately, because of the training I've had and the podcasts I listen to, the personal development, I go, if I don't want to do it, I need to do it. I need to train my brain to do hard things. And so that's kind of where all of this started. We have a goal to run a couple ultra marathons, and we've been running for about 4.5 months now. So I'm actually going through some Achilles pain, which apparently is very normal when you've never learned how to run. And I didn't know you had to learn how to run, like there's a technique to it or anything, but there is. You probably know that as an Iron Man.
Yeah, I did my share of injuries. Nobody ever teaches you how to run, right?
No.
And I'm out there. I was a heel striker, and yeah, for sure. But had my share of Achilles and more plantar fasciitis, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But you'll have your spell of each of those. But yeah, you can get by that. So
Yeah.
are you recovering
It's
okay?
yeah, it's frustrating right now because we've got a 53K night run in March scheduled, and we're about 3 months out from that, and I can't run right now. And so, I've been off for about 10 days. I did a light 1 mile jog yesterday, and was just in a lot of pain. So I just need to let it rest and do its thing.
Hmm.
It's interesting because I like to go the high D side of me likes to go very fast.
Right.
And so, I have a very addictive personality. So when I started to believe that I was a runner and started to hit these milestones where we were running 5 miles a day, and all of a sudden to be at a standstill with this
Mm.
Achilles, it's eaten me up. And
Who would have
it's,
thought, right?
yeah, it's so hard to want to sit here and do the right thing and do these little 15-minute rehab exercises that feel like I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
Uh, it's highly frustrating, but I have to learn to slow down a little bit if I want to speed up.
Hmm.
Um, I'm just on doctor's orders right now. I ordered some gym equipment, some stabilizing equipment, balancing boards, those types of things to strengthen my ankles. But you know, when you're in the gym, if you're doing a max bench press and you don't hit it, it just slowly comes down, and the next day you're able to still bench press.
Right.
When you run 5 miles and your Achilles starts to hurt, all of a sudden you can't run, and so it's like it's a weird, never before experienced type of injury that I'm trying to just work through.
Yeah. So unsolicited advice. That's not a 5K. Okay. So you're not going to go gut that out. So if you're not 100%, push that. There's all kinds of races out there. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Find a different one. Find a different one. But you'll know. When I was signing up for races, I would sign up and I'm like, yeah, I'm training for this. If everything lines up well, right? If I'm injury free, if I'm this, I'm that. But the other thing I'll say to you is that very few people at the starting line of any race are 100%.
Yeah.
But don't go. Achilles is a touchy one because you snap that and
Yeah, you're
you're
done
gonna
for a
be a
while.
while. Yeah, you're gonna be a while.
Yeah, that's my biggest fear is, I don't care. I just want to show up to the starting line.
Yeah.
I was listening to David Goggins, and he was saying, I still show up to those 100-mile
I'm back.
races, and I go, why the fuck am I standing here? Why am I doing this? And then at the end of it, he goes, well, every question I ever had was answered in that 100-mile race. And so I think there's
Mm,
something spiritual about
yeah.
these long distance races that cause you to really go to a place inside of yourself. And I'm excited to see what that's like.
Yeah.
That 53K really is just a start. If we can do it, great. If not, we've got a bigger goal. With the Blood Rock 100, and we've signed up for the Mamba 100 too, which is
Okay.
local here.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got to get healthy, right? You got to get healthy. So are these things? Do they have elevation or are they pretty flat?
Well, the Mamba and the 53K are local. They're going to be pretty flat,
Yeah.
fast and flat. The Blood Rock has 17,000 feet of elevation gain. So that one is something else entirely too. And we had planned to go to Colorado and do a series of hikes at elevation
Mm-hmm.
about 3 or 4 months before the race to kind of get used to that
Yeah.
in whatever way we can. I mean, I don't know how used to it you can get it over 5 days, but
Yeah. It's
just
better
have
than
an
nothing.
idea.
Yeah, it's better than nothing. And you've been out there before. Heck, you've come to Maine and conquered Maine's highest peak, Katahdin. So
Yeah, that was the most difficult climb I'd ever done in my entire life, and that's
yeah.
that's why you guys call me Bernie now.
We get quick story for those of you guys that don't know Nick. Matt Blood and I and Nick were coming down off the mountain, and Nick was just dead on his feet, right? And he had these Ray-Ban sunglasses on and a red shirt. He had black hair, and Matt says, not being a jerk or anything, but look back at Nick and tell me you don't see Weekend at Bernie's. And Nick was just going on like this. So for
Yeah,
the rest
very
of the
machine
weekend,
like.
yeah,
The lights were on, nobody was home. It
nobody
was
was home.
it
Yeah,
was
and
just
Wendy was
pure
in her
bliss.
I'm getting down off this mountain mode, not talking to anybody, just gone, right? And
Hmm.
everybody was in their own little bit of hell, right?
Yep.
And but
Ran
you
out
got
of
to
water about halfway down.
you gotta go there to get there, right? You gotta
Mhm.
do the thing. So I saw a picture of you because we have one of those Aura frames, and it's on it a picture of our hike
Oh
we're
yeah,
on there, and there was that picture of you on the hike, and you had your sleeping bag, right? And
yeah,
you
yeah.
dragged that thing all day long. You're like, damn it, I'm
Sure
bringing this
did.
bag. Bob said to be prepared. I'm
I had
prepared.
my
So
tent in there and everything.
yeah, so you didn't just climb the mountain. You brought like I said, have enough stuff with you to spend the night. Nick he's nothing if he's not a rule follower. So anyway, well, cool. That's exciting. So back on the business side, what's next, man? I mean, I know sometimes it's easy to get caught up in that. Got to scale, got to grow, got to build, got to do this. I mean, are you kind of coming up over and seeing up over the horizon now and kind of saying, okay, I want to see what this feels like a little bit before we go bite off more than we can chew.
Yeah, I think one thing that War Room helped me do is get really clear on where I wanted
Mm,
to go, as well as kind of the mechanisms that it would take to get there without necessarily my timeline being involved with that.
right.
And I've got like my goals are bigger than ever. At first it was I want to grow so I can make a lot of money, and now it's I want to grow so I can help other people make a lot of money, and so there can be a lasting legacy that's impactful,
Mm,
in the United States as a whole. And so the goal has expanded to, and it just sounds crazy saying it over what's going to be a publicly aired podcast, but I want to be a $50 million company and have 10 locations across the Southeast doing $5 million each.
there you
And
go.
so, we've really dialed in our processes and procedures
Hmm.
to be simple enough to be replicated in other locations or easily changeable. And so we're going to have a very unique system where if we follow it, the goal of it is to provide a peaceful renovation experience every time. And so, the goal used to be, well, let's get this to a $5 million company here and then maybe a $10 million company, and maybe I'll sell it, or maybe
Yeah.
I'll start one in Florida,
Right.
or, it wasn't very clear. But now that we have these systems and processes in place, next year is really going to be a testing year. And what I mean by that is we're going to break it and break it and break it and fix it and break it and fix it until uh, it gives us the result that we want 80% of the time. And that's
Nice.
something that can be easily tracked the way we're doing it. And we've started getting a lot more feedback from our clients as well. We actually, SurveyMonkey, you can do like one simple survey for free on there. So I created one and I sent it out to all of our clients just last week. And we're starting to get results back on that to see what people actually think, because people will be nice to you to your face, but when it's anonymous, they'll
They
tell
let
you
it
the truth.
rip.
Yeah, they will let it rip. And it's really eye opening to see what people's responses are. And there is one box on there that asks them to say, "Hey, what could we do to be better?" And it's some of these things that you would think I would be really good at, like being detail oriented and things like that. Some people wish that we were more of that. So,
Yeah.
like I said, next year we're not gonna focus so much on scaling in that year, but we're going to break our processes and procedures over and over again
I like
until
it.
they're perfected. And then we're going to really focus on hoarding, like greedily hoarding whatever profit that we have. So that way we can operate out of a position of confidence and not a position of risk and fear. So, I think what that will do is when opportunities arise in 2027, we'll be much better fit to tackle that.
Yeah, it's what I'm hearing is you're right now building the blueprint to a $5 million repeatable location by living the experience and
Mhm.
tweaking it and fixing it and breaking it and fixing it as you go. So there'll be nobody more well versed in it than you and Cam.
Right. And it really is the boring stuff. It's the blocking
Yeah.
and the tackling. Like I used to try and create these processes and procedures that were so overcomplicated that it wouldn't even make sense from a bathroom to a kitchen to an addition to,
Right.
a screened porch or something. And they all had to be different. This we simplified into about 12 steps. And throughout those 12 steps, it's automated to where each person whoever owns that step gets a
Hmm.
series of quality control steps and different things that they're required to do before it gets moved on to the next step. So we'll be able to easily identify bottlenecks. It'll help us determine who we need to hire next. It'll help us be more accountable to each other, and it'll just be really great feedback on every single job that we get to figure out if we're doing what we say we can do. Because if I can come out there and say, hey, most of the time when you hire us, 80-90% of the time, you're going to have a really great experience with us. I don't think there's really another contracting company that can say that
True. They might say 100%
and prove
and
it.
be at 50%. Yeah. Yeah, and actually prove it and do what you say you're going to do. So, yeah, man, this has been awesome. Yeah. I'd like to ask a couple of questions kind of as we wrap things up. One of them, and it has to do with my book, Finding Your Edge. And so I ask people, like your edge is where you go when the shit hits the fan, right? Like how you show up differently than others, like what you bring to the table that other people don't. So I just straight up ask people, like, Nick, what's your edge?
Yeah, my edge I think is having that dual C and D personality
Mm,
type because whatever the situation calls for is I can switch into it. When I'm backed into a corner, that D kicks in and it moves into action and and I can go really hard, but when I need to slow down and analyze something and make a decision that's a little more carefully thought out, I can do that. It's the ability to switch in between each one of those that gives me the edge over the guy who's just trudging through the forest, not realizing there's a cliff ahead, or the guy who's still sitting at the campfire drawing a map in the dirt. We've got a
right.
direction and we're moving that way. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes a little slower, but we don't stop moving.
Done is better than perfect.
That's right.
I like it. Cool. Well, I appreciate you answering that. One more question as we kind of go out the door here, and I mean, you and I could talk for 3 hours because we got all kinds of stuff to catch up on. But I want to be respectful of your time. It's a busy week, and hope you get good plans for the holiday. Usually, what I do at the end is just close my mouth and I just ask somebody, from a business standpoint or from a personal standpoint, doesn't matter which, or maybe even both. What do you wish people knew? Like, what do you want people to know?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think that I'm going to answer it with my favorite Bible verse because this is kind of what has driven me since my whole entrepreneurial personal development journey even started back during COVID, is that faith without works is dead. And that not only encapsulates spiritual and religious doctrine, but in your personal life, you can have all the belief in the world that you're going to do all these great things. You can believe that you're going to have a great business. You can believe you're going to be a great husband. You can believe that you're going to have a good, strong family. You can believe that you're going to be successful, whatever it is. But you have to put in the work. You
Mm,
absolutely have to put in the work. And it goes hand in hand. You can't just put in the work and have no faith. Like, man, I'm slaving away every day. I'm just never going to get there. You can't talk to yourself like that either. So, and I used to be that way. I used to put in the work and have no faith because I'd go, man, I'm slaving away as hard as I possibly can, but I'm never getting anywhere. What's
yeah.
wrong? Why can't I do this? You gotta believe. And just like going back to being a runner and saying, I've never been a runner. I'm not a runner. I can't do that. I sometimes the work has to come before the belief. And I started running and the first time I ran, it was half a mile and I
Yeah.
was sucking wind. And then 3 months later, I'm running 5 miles every single day. And I'm going, man, I'm a freaking runner. Like I can do this. Now I have the faith to believe that I can run an ultra marathon. Why? Because I know I'm going to put in the work to get there. And
Hmm.
so that confidence doesn't get built unless you have both of those things. So for anybody who's looking at starting their own business, anybody who thinks, "Oh, I can never lose the weight," or hey, I can never get my diet right, or man, I want to be a millionaire, or whatever it is, you got to have the belief and you got to do the work.
Yeah. Wise words from a guy that is wise beyond his years. Nick Sammons, ladies and gentlemen. TruVine Renovations in Memphis. I call it Memphis. You're right in Memphis, right?
Hmm.
Over near our friend Bubba, Tennessee. And friend of mine, client of mine, and just an all-around good dude, a good dad, a good husband. I'm gonna say serial entrepreneur because I think this isn't your last stop. I'll give you a little advice on the running before I leave because you know I got to, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Back to the knobs. You know how you said you could turn the dials? A great coach once told me, he said there's three dials, basically: volume, duration, and intensity. If you turn two up, you got to turn one down. Okay? So if you turn the duration up, okay, which is the mileage, the volume up, which is the mileage over the week, you got to turn that intensity down. If you got all three up at once, here comes trouble, right?
And that's exactly what happened.
There you go. Hey, we
Shocker.
learn, right? Welcome to the Bob Turner way of learning.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll just go till it breaks. Yeah,
Right.
then we'll fix it. Figure out the parachute on the way down. So, Nick, it's been fun. I appreciate it. Have a great week. Have a good Christmas with John, and just have fun, man. And enjoy the ride. It's been fun to watch. I'm watching you. I see your stuff. See your social media. I'm out here. So if you ever need anything, you know you can reach me. And I hope you do. So, guys, this has been Nick Sammons, TruVine Renovations. Nick, I appreciate you coming. We'll catch up again real soon. Take care, my friend.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate you, brother.